Lyric Pro provides the freedom to create many separate animations in a single scene. It is much easier to break animations up into separate animations. For instance, we can make an animation that brings a scene onto the screen, then build another section of it to take it off the screen, and so on. Every scene starts with a default timeline. We'll discuss what animations work best in the default timeline in the next tutorial. So with this scene, let's create an animation to bring it on, and then a separate one to take it off. These separate animations are called transitions. To add a new transition, simply right-click over the Default Timeline tab, select Add Transition, and select Effect In. Now, let's select the three elements in the scene graph that we want to add to this new Timeline tab. Make sure the Effect In Timeline tab is selected, and in the Transition properties, click the Add button to add them from the available elements to the active elements. There's another way to add these to a transition, so let's do that next. Click on the Default Timeline tab again, right-click, select Add Transition, and select Effect Out. Because the three layers are still selected in the scene graph, you can click on the selected radio button, and all three layers are now added to the Effect Out Timeline tab. Okay, so let's create the first animation on the Effect In Timeline tab. Select the red group in the scene graph, and using the XYZ properties, move the group off to the left using the X position. Now move up to the 20 frame mark on the timeline and simply reset the position of the group by clicking the X position button. Let's also put an ease in on this keyframe before moving on. Right-click on the keyframe, select Modify Keyframe Attributes, select Ease, and then Ease In on the next menu. Because we made the animation length 20 frames, make the Ease In 20 frames as well. Never make the Ease In time longer than the length of the animation, in this case 20 frames. Now let's do a similar animation for the white group. At time 0, move the group off to the left using the X position. I want this part of the animations to start a little after the live comes onto the screen, so move the timeline marker up to 10 frames. Right-click and select Add Keyframe. Now move to the 1 second mark and reset the X position like we did with the red group. Now let's add a similar ease in on this keyframe. To see how the animation looks, just click the play button, and if it looks okay, let's move on to the next animation, which is the Effect Out. For the Effect Out, I want the white group to start first, so with that selected in the scene graph, let's move to the 20 frame mark and using the X position slide it off to the left. For this animation, we will add an ease out on the first keyframe. In a similar manner as the ease in, select the first keyframe, right-click and select Modify Keyframe Attributes, select Ease and then Ease Out. Set the time as 20 frames. Now select the red group in the scene graph, move the timeline marker down to the 10 frame mark, and right-click to add a keyframe. Move down to the 1 second mark and using the X position, move the group off to the left. We'll also add an ease out to the keyframe at the 10 frame mark. We have just built two separate animations into the single upper left live scene. There is an animation to affect it onto the screen and a second one to take it off. To test this, press the play button, and after it comes on, click on the timeline tab named Effect Out, and it goes off the screen. In part 3, we will add more animations to the Live Super to give it some pizzazz. I'll also show you how to apply shortcut keys and persistence to the scene.